Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Home and Away, podcast devoted to all things in and around the world sporting Kansas City soccer. I am Drew Vanderplug, joined once again, as always, by my good friend Cody Welton. This week on the podcast, whoo boy, have the sporting Kansas City fans been through it over the last 72 hours. Going from a depressing 2-0 loss in Colorado on Saturday, which did not include Manu Garcia in the proceedings, to hearing the coach make nebulous post-game comments about his future with the club, to finding out Monday evening at like 8 p.m. that not only was he leaving, but his contract was being terminated and bought out. Good news, though, Luiz was finally announced as an official signing 12 hours later. To say that it left the fan base a bit confused and with mixed emotions today would be putting it mildly. Manu was a very well-liked player by both the proprietors of this podcast, the fan base writ large, and pretty much everyone in the locker room. So to see him leave in what appeared to be a fairly unceremonious manner right before announcing the biggest signing in club history certainly created quite the paradox. We did thankfully hear from David Lee today, and he spoke at length about the decision-making that led to these recent transactions, as well as future-looking plans. And it did help bring some of this into focus. We'll do our best to unpack all of this news and what it means for the club in both the short and the long term and provide some context where possible before previewing the match against St. Louis, lowercase city, tomorrow night in Sporting Park. Cody, perhaps the best way to start this conversation would, just to try to stay in chronological order. Because I think the sequence of events is best discussed in that way. And how it sort of seemed to proceed in a very escalated manner to the external observer. So it started, obviously, as we got the starting lineup versus Colorado. Manu Garcia left out of the lineup again. He's not in the 11. This time Calvin Harris is deputizing as as a second forward. This is probably the first time we've seen a legitimate 4-4-2 from this team that wasn't sort of like a 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2 hybrid. And Capita moving over to left wing. And our good friend Shapi Suleimanov coming in at right wing. And supposedly also tasked with drifting centrally to help create. So how did that go?
That's the first I've heard of him having to drift centrally to create. Cause
that's what the coach said in the post-game press conference.
I didn't really see that. I would not have really considered that to be in his wheelhouse. So that's quite interesting. Yeah, it didn't work. And once again we saw what seemed to be a competent defensive performance. Or at least the beginnings of one, sort of undone by, ridiculousness. And, all of the other things swirling around the club notwithstanding, it still is not a well-coached team, from what I can tell. And they still have a lot of work to do. I was really heartened by the defensive approach, at least the first half against Colorado. I thought that Mosquera was really great, and I know that he picked up that red card, and that's problematic on its own. But I thought before that, I thought he was really fantastic, and sort of the player that I've hoped Sporting Kansas City would sign, really ever since Ike Opara left. Just a big, athletic, really competent center back who takes care of business and helps put out fires and helps cover for the other people on the back line. I thought he really delivered, man. I was really impressed with him.
It's sort of the right partner to an Orblorian who is a little bit more of an on-the-ball creative type center back than Mosquera is. So you've got sort of that really good dynamic between the two of them, where Mosquera is very much more the solid defensive, sort of transition defender that you need, that reads fires before they happen, puts them out very quickly. And Blorian is a little bit more of the expressive, sort of on-the-ball type center back. And you've got that really good combination between the two of them. You can see how that could really work well together. Again, to your point, you texted me during the game, like this is what we've been looking for since Ike. And I think Blorian does a fairly decent facsimile of Matt Beasler. I don't think he's that level, but I think, you know, the way he plays and then the partnership that they have, really you could see that progressing over time into something that could be very solid for this team, which is great. It's great to see. But then, unfortunately, like, and this even happened in the Discord as we're all trying to find positives during the game because things kind of went sideways and the red card happens, and you know they're basically kind of hanging on for a lot of the second half of the game, and I think Jake Davis today in his media availability was correct that the team was defending really hard throughout that period. I mean, I would say that the amount of effort that they put in to try to defend during that process where they were obviously at a disadvantage the entire time was admirable, believe it or not. Like, this was the most I'd seen them kind of work together as a team in quite a while.
Yeah.
Then Mosquera does just something that he doesn't need to do.
Yeah.
Right? You know, when you look at the play, it looks a little shoulder to shoulder, but still, like, this is not a tackle he needs to be trying to make.
Yeah.
And especially down a man and down a goal in the 87th minute, right? Like, that's just not the thing you should be doing. So it's like all that good sort of gets undone, and especially because he's not available tomorrow night against St. Louis. So, you know, we're recording this Tuesday evening, right before the St. Louis game. We'll do a preview of that later. But that's a big problem, right? Like, this team is not what we would call necessarily deep at the defensive positions. We've been waiting for these guys to get into their spots and Mosquera to get up to match fitness. So we had at least a decent facsimile of a reasonable defensive back four. And now Blorian had to come out of that game with back problems, and he's questionable. Mosquera gets himself sent off, and we're looking down the barrel of Jansen Miller and Wyatt Meyer on Wednesday.
Yeah, so we're right back where we started.
Exactly. Losing when we lost to Colorado Springs.
Yeah, right.
And got not just lost, got dog walked out of their stadium.
Yeah. And this time we have no Manu, we have no Ajibang, and the other attacking reinforcements have yet to arrive, and so it's
frustrating, right? And it's just those are the kind of mistakes that you can't have. And there were a couple of them in this game. We saw one from LBJ at the end of the first half in the last game. And it's a little concerning, like the level of discipline being displayed in some of these circumstances. I think they're trying so hard sometimes that they're like losing themselves a little bit, and we got to find a way to balance that a little bit.
It's discipline, and it's also like just situational awareness, right? It's knowing, you know, what the game state calls for, and you know, especially LBJ's like that's unforgivable from that player, and you know, we saw all night on Saturday Mosquera making like super aggressive plays, and that's really great when they come off, right? Those you know, those slide tackles in the box are awesome, right up until the point when they're not, right? And then
you leave your feet, you're asking for trouble every single time.
Always the case. And I mean, I'm still like super psyched that guy is playing for Sporting Kansas City, because I think that there's not enough of that kind of attitude on the team, and I think that I like the aggression. I like the physicality. I'd rather have someone start like that and have to maybe dial it back a little bit, as long as he's not, you know, Garces
right.
style.
We don't need Emiro Garces. We don't need Danny Rosero either.
No,
like Rosero had a big problem with doing some galaxy brain shit during games.
Absolutely. And Mosquera does not seem to be that.
He doesn't.
To me.
He doesn't. He doesn't seem like that kind of player. I'm not trying to put that on him. I'm just saying, like, you got to manage the situation.
Yeah.
I think. I'm reading a lot between the lines and reading a lot based on commentary from Jake Davis today and his media availability. You could tell in kind of how he talked about the game, he was pretty frustrated with having to be down a man again for 50 minutes and how hard they had to work to do all of that.
Yeah, nobody wants to play that way. It sucks. It
right,
sucks to watch as fans, and it sucks to put in all that work. Like, all week you practice your asses off, and you have like a plan, and then the plan goes out the window the second that red card happens.
I'm telling you, Kwaku probably got it from his teammates.
Yeah.
And I bet Moises probably got it too.
Yeah.
Like, we need better. We need better as a team. And I do get the feeling that there's at least that level of holding each other accountable. The other thing that I noticed, and this is something that we had discussed, when Blorian and Karich, officially joined right before the season restarted, and we got them both in media, and you saw them both, understanding that they had an opportunity to lead. And I think you discussed last week, you want to see Blorian be more of a vocal leader. Who was leading the huddle before the second half? It was Blorian. He was in there telling the team what they needed. And yeah, Decky's wearing the armband, but Blorian was the one talking about what had to happen. And I think we need to see more of that, right? We need to see more of the veterans with experience, leading in that way. And, hopefully we're starting to see some of that. It is hard right now, man. I'm going to be honest. Like, I understand where the frustration comes from the fan base. And we'll get to that conversation here in a second when we talk about Manu. But I understand the frustration of the fan base. Like, the short term right now, it is hard to see where this is going somewhere positively. Because the on-the-field shit is a tough watch, man.
It is.
Like, regardless of the things that we're talking about where we're finding positives in Moises Mosquera, I thought Kwaku was actually really good until he, for some reason, yeeted himself two-footed into somebody.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the fuck he's thinking on that play. Like, there's no thought. There's no thought there. He just literally yeeted himself into that guy.
Yeah.
I thought he was pretty good. He did some things that I saw on film that I think he needs to work on, which is like trying to hold on to the ball way too long. Yep. But those are things you learn. And those are things when you get them on film and then you go back to practice, or you get your film study on your iPad later. And I trust you, Dom Kinnear's like, hey, bud, see this? See where this outlet pass was, where you could have done that instead of just ran around this in a circle with the ball?
Yeah.
Like, those are the things that'll make him a better player. But getting sent off before the end of the first half is not going to make him a better player. And that's the kind of thing that they've got to find a way to get their heads around. 3 red cards in 2 games is not it, man.
No, it's I mean, I hate to go right back to this and to, because we talked about it a lot last week, but it is, it's hard to imagine well-coached teams doing that. It just is. And, just the lack of discipline, the lack of self-control, the lack of awareness, like, it's a problem. And it is, that's additional to the fact that even before these red cards, or outside of the red cards during the matches, the team is still not looking, like they should, right? Like I respect.
It's not like they were playing well prior to the red card. They looked just as inept at trying to find chances towards goal prior to the red card.
Absolutely.
I never thought they were looking like scoring at any point in time. The only time they actually got a decent look was when Calvin Harris biffed it at the end of the game. Like, that was really the only decent look they had the whole game.
I thought he was going to start crying. I almost started crying. I felt
bad for it.
That was rough.
Like, that's one of those ones where it's like you just feel bad for the guy. But it's not like they were creating much. They weren't creating danger around the box. I think I clocked it. Their first touch inside Colorado's 18 was like at the 18th minute. Like, that's just not good enough, man. And it was Harris, like, he was literally barely inside the edge of the 18-yard box and then dribbled back outside of it.
Well, and Colorado's not like this attacking juggernaut, right? It's like the context also matters, and we saw how this team performed against a quality opponent like LAFC, and it was not good, right? And then to kind of turn around and to put in a similar type of performance against lesser quality opponents, it's just really disappointing.
I mean, I think this was a worse performance, to be completely honest. LAFC they got by transition and elite finishers. Right. Like, I think the XG they gave up against LAFC was like 1.3.
Right.
I mean, yes, they got absolutely burned on the transition, and guys like Sun Heung Min and Dennis Bouanga, when they're one-on-one with a goalkeeper, they're just going to score. It doesn't matter what the angle is, right? But I think David Martinez actually probably scored the cleanest goal in that game. But they have elite attackers that are going to take advantage of those. Colorado, they gave up almost 3 XG in this game, dude.
Right.
Now, granted, a lot of it came in the second half when they're down a man. So I mean, I will at least admit that at that level that is what happens. But it's not like they were looking like winning this game prior to that, and it's the same thing we said in the game prior to that. This team is a tough watch as it is without losing a player. When they lose a player, it just becomes I don't know what it is. You almost want to turn the channel.
Yeah, it's and to try and talk about that in a podcast, it's like there's nothing to analyze. Like it's just like it's a hope and a prayer more than anything. The first half XG, by the way, was 1.15 to 0.42, so they still got doubled up on XG in the first half, and you can't have a sustainable club if that's the way that you're going to approach these games. And I don't know what the answer is. I think that we all kind of have assumed that the answer is, has been better players, and the better players, at least on the defensive side of the ball, are here, and they're still kind of having problems showing it on the field. And so, like, as we just discussed, like that's not going to be fixed tomorrow. And so there's still just a lot of work that needs to be done. It just to get to sort of this right? This basic level of like competitiveness and competency. And they're still like far below average, even though there are better players on the team and there's more talent on the team than there has been, probably in the last two seasons. But it's a long way from gelling, and so people just need to be patient, because things like this keeps happening, and the red cards are gonna make it even more difficult to be patient. But these players have to be able to put together some games together and earn some momentum. Maybe it's in spite of their coach instead of because of their coach, but they've got to start putting together some positive performances, or it has a real possibility of really getting out of hand, and I don't
getting out of hand.
I agree.
They're the worst team in league history by all the numbers right now.
That's true. Yeah. It doesn't, and it looks like Atlanta's not going to save us from ourselves. So
no, because they have Tata Martino. He's not going to absolutely be total shit the entire season.
Right.
They'll figure out something, and even if they don't sign Breel and Bolo, which appears to be maybe up in the air now, who knows? But I think that I was laughing when you said that fans are gonna have to be patient. I think fans are out of patience.
Yeah,
and rightly so. Like
deservedly so.
This team. I think Joe Lowry put it fairly succinctly in his rundown for the weekend. Sporting Kansas City were second to last in the Western Conference 2 years ago, last in the Western Conference last year, and last in the Western Conference this year. How much longer are we waiting?
Yeah, that's completely fair.
And I also say that while saying that I'm about to go into a deep dive about all the things they're doing to reinvent this club,
right?
That I think are positive. But it's really hard to see the forest through the trees right now. It really is, because like you still as a fan have to take in these matches, and they are dire, dude.
Yeah, they are. I mean, just full transparency. I'm not going to the game tomorrow. It's a school night. I'm already exhausted without going to soccer games, and I like to drive, an hour and a half round trip to go out to the park to watch this team play soccer. It's on a weeknight is asking just an awful lot, and
against a team that's probably going to kick the shit out of them.
Oh,
like the form that St. Louis is in versus the form that Sporting is in, like the prospects are pretty bad for this game. And you take Manu Garcia out of that equation as well, and it just becomes even less likely that they're going to come up with some sort of coherent performance. And I'm not begrudging anyone who doesn't go out to that game. I hope that it's a decent atmosphere. It's a derby match. You would want it to be. I got to tell you, I texted Daniel Sperry and Chad Reynolds this. I was like, if they get blown out by St. Louis at home, a team who has never beat them in Sporting Park, by the way, and St. Louis is gonna be wearing those fucking baby diarrhea kits too. Like, if that happens, like, you might have full scale revolt situation on your hands with the fan base. No matter the $20 million you just spent on Andre Luiz, that does not fix what just happened. And yes, Lee will be the first person to admit that he didn't do a very good job of getting the team to a place where they could be competitive over the first 6 months of the season. But man, it doesn't look like it's getting better.
That's, I think, the big problem, right? And with something we talked about a lot last week is that it doesn't seem to be getting better. That the team wide performance does not seem to be improving. The individual performances don't seem to be improving either, and it's just
some individuals improve and some individuals regress, and so it's like this
who is improving.
I think Jake Davis has been pretty good over the last 3 or 4 games.
I mean, he was pretty anonymous on Saturday, and even before the Cards, I thought that he was maybe being a little bit honestly too cautious, and I don't think they were focusing on building through him at all, which I don't understand.
Because who's he passing it to?
Well, right.
Shoppy?
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's that. I guess that's a good point.
I mean, I also think that Georgie Manungu kept him fucking hands full in this game.
He really had his hands full with Georgie, and Georgie's a good player, and so and Jake Davis is not a natural quote unquote right back, and so that's a lot for him to have to handle for sure.
Anyway, I think at least up until this game, I think Jake was largely improving quite a bit, and he was at least very dialed in. Like, the issues we had with him have largely improved. I think Mascara, to your point, like as he's sort of gotten to know the team and gotten like involved, he's been a positive.
Yeah.
I think Capita has gotten better the more he's played as well. I think his performances have improved the more he's played. I think that Stephen Cleveland has gone backwards. I think that Amir Karic also, that's a real player. That our left back, he's a real player. I do think that some things have gotten better. I just think that it's also dependent on some players whose floor is so low that when they have off games that and the ceiling's not high enough either. Like, I just
so what I heard you just say is like are 2 players who are really just still betting in. Like, I don't consider them improving. Like, they're just kind of getting their feet under them.
Well, I'm talking about the team, and sure.
I am. And that's sort of my point. Is that the players who are already here, they're not getting any better, and maybe they can't get any better. Maybe that's just the problem, right? Is that those players are already at their ceiling, and we just need whole scale new talent.
Who are you expecting to get better that played in that game or in any of these games?
I mean, I am not personally expecting anybody to necessarily get better. I keep hoping that the coach can find a way to sort of maybe juice their performances a little bit in certain contexts on the field, and that's not happening either. And so that's really my point, right? Is that there's no, from a coach who did a lot of lip service, paid a lot of lip service to development and working with younger players and blah 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 blah. When he came in, like we haven't seen that sort of development really hardly at all. And I understand that there are things working against that, like the skill level of your players, like the skill level of the players around them,
trying to get any sense of results. Yeah, like
right.
It's hard to enable a bunch of young players when you can't get results with even the veteran players, right? It's difficult.
It's difficult, but I just remain where I was, a week ago. That this dude is not the answer, and I have a little bit of hope that a player like Luiz can kind of help paper over some of those things and maybe give a little bit of an instant attack to the squad. But I have a lot of reservations too, and so there's still just so much more work that needs to be done in terms of the roster to even really get a sense of, you know, how good Wiki can be. Like, I don't think he's that good, but I think maybe with, you know, a complement of good players, maybe he could be okay, but we're not even close to having that right now, and it's just frustrating, you know.
And it's frustrating for everyone. So I mean, I think from that perspective, I understand where the malaise and the concern and the you know, borderline anger comes from, especially with the announcement of Manu Garcia leaving the club. So we get to the post-game press conference. Rafa Wiki looks defeated, man. You want to talk about a dude that like just looked like he'd been through it. Just like the emotion was terrible. Like you could just tell that he was just completely worn out. And I'm sure, you know, look, you're coaching for your life probably at this point too. Like, you know, things are not good, and you know, if things keep going this way, you're probably, you know what I mean? You're under pressure as well. And, you know, the young player that you put your faith into to try to work this out, because you've been sort of forced into a situation, it seems like, not to be able to play one of your better midfielders, yeets himself into a player, gets sent off in the 42nd minute or 40th minute. And here we are 2 games in a row trying to manage through it. And I think he was fair in his assessment. He's like, once the red card happens, I don't even know what you can analyze at that point. And I think we said the same thing. We just said the same thing. It's like difficult to analyze what the hell happened after that, because there's not much to analyze after that. But then he has, you know, he the revelation comes that he had a conversation with Manu about his future and thought it was best not to include him in the game and to talk to David. And that was just kind of a wild, like, out of the blue response. Now, we, you know, in fairness, we have been discussing for several weeks now that Sporting had been in the market for a DP, and it sounded like multiple DPs potentially. Like, Mo Salah was never a pursuit on its own, that they were still going after these other DP targets. We discussed that Gaboho and Luiz could be bought at the same time. I had brought up, you know, a potential workaround where Manu could stay on the team as a non-DP if he were able to extend at a kind of a lower pay rate, but it's back-end loaded that gets his money back or something along those lines. But it would require a lot of machinations to make work. And, you know, the thought always was that if a DP was to go, that he would be the one, right? Like that. I think we all sort of understood that. I don't think any of us understood it to be happening like as immediately as it did. And it caught everyone off guard that this was being stated publicly. It wasn't something that had really been discussed that much. And it goes to a separate topic we'll discuss here in a second around how information is managed around this club. But I think, you know, this was something that candidly had been discussed in the background circles for the last month or two as well, that the team was actively shopping for a second DP, either at like what we would call more of the prototypical 10 position, which is what we heard from David Lee during his availability today, and that Manu might potentially be a casualty as a result of that. But all of it was just very like up in the air. None of it really seemed like it was actually happening. And then just all of a sudden we're hearing about it. And he flew to Colorado, by the way. He flew to Colorado.
Yeah, that's the weirdest part of the whole thing. So weird.
And then we're holding him out because he's potentially leaving. And it just left a lot of people in just kind of this weird place going, what's happening right now?
Yeah.
And again, I think it's appropriate to kind of go through the timeline here so that everybody's kind of aware of the context. And I think Joe Lowry made a really good point again in his weekly review that Sporting was a prominent feature of, unfortunately for all the wrong reasons, where he said, like, look, you know, was Manu unhappy with how things were going in his sort of role within the team? Sure, absolutely. Does that explain why Rafa Wiki benched him for 3 straight games in May? No, it doesn't. Right?
Yeah.
And you're talking about a player who was very productive when he was in games, and was definitely the most technically skilled soccer player that this roster had at the time. And so to just sort of what seemed to be unceremoniously cast him aside was sort of strange. It didn't really make a lot of sense. We're talking about a player that's very well liked, as I noted in the intro. Both of us are very big fans of his game. But also we have admitted that his profile is not really what you normally see from a DP number 10, right? That is not the type of player you normally see. You compare Manu Garcia to Evander, and there's a drastic difference in both style and quality, if we're being honest with each other, right?
And impact, frankly.
Impact, well, Evander creates and scores goals.
He does.
And at a high rate,
and
right?
From Lee's own mouth, that's what Lee is looking for.
Right. Well, and for DPs in this league now, they have to be that, right? And I think what in hindsight, what we're willing to sort of cope and recognize and deal with here is that Manu Garcia is a DP of the old regime.
Yeah.
Not that it was bad, but speaks to the limitations in spending and sort of the philosophy of how the club went about building itself. It's very much a Peter Vermees style DP. And I think we said that at the time. He's the prototypical sort of free 8-10. Like, if I looked at Manu's numbers for 2025, and obviously he was injured at the back half of that year, but his per 96 numbers in 2025 compare very similarly to one Benny Feilhaber.
Yeah.
Like a very similar kind of player. I'd had some discussions that, Peter was always trying to recreate Felipe Gutierrez. I don't know that Manu is Gutierrez. Gutierrez is a much more up and down the field player and a much more defensively responsible player. Yeah. He reminds me a lot more of Benny. Just with all of that technical skill and just sort of seeing movement and seeing the next pass and just sort of having that like vision and creativity that was just like different than anyone else. That always was what Manu felt like to me. Although I don't know that I've ever seen someone so press resistant and sort of ball secure and good on the turn any time in like recently that I've been watching Sporting Kansas City. Yeah. That guy could receive the ball in a pocket of 3 guys and come out with it in ways that I just never saw Sporting Kansas City midfielders do. So he was different in that regard. But realistically, if you look at the new regime, and David Lee alluded to this in his press conference, this is the first transfer window under Peter Malik's leadership as the primary owner. We're making 18 million euro transfer fees for Andre Luiz. That's more than that's almost double what Joveljic and Manu are combined. That's actually more than double what Joveljic and Manu are combined.
Yeah.
And so when you consider it in that way, and the type of impact that you're trying to make and the type of players that you're trying to bring in to really raise the level of this team, I do understand it, and from a business aspect. I just wish a lot of that was much more, clear prior to us finding out in a post-game press conference that the coach had a conversation with him about his future and thought it was best that he didn't play. Like, that's just a wild thing to have happen. Then you have 48 hours of people spinning, and then all of a sudden at like 8:30 p.m. Monday, we just get a bunch of PR posts out of nowhere. Not only that Manu's leaving, but mutual termination plus buyout.
Yeah.
So not that he's being sold to another team, that they found another place for him, any of that stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I think we know where he's going to end up, but didn't get anything for him, any of that stuff. You're just like, wait, what is going on here? It's hard to sort of parse all that. And the one thing that I can say is that I think there was some concern at some time that Manu was upset, that he had asked to leave, all those things. I want to put some context around that. I don't think all of that is accurate. I think it is accurate that Manu was unhappy with his role in the team. I think that when he signed, and he signed for Peter Vermees, there was an expectation of his role in the team, and he was sort of sold on a project at that time that was not playing out anymore, right? Things changed very quickly. And then coming into this season, his role was significantly different from what he was told it was going to be. So yeah, he had some concerns about that. That's normal. That's a normal thing. That's not pounding on the door saying, get me out of here.
Right.
And so I think we should be clear about what was really going on there. I also think that it's worth giving the club at least some level of credit for not holding on to him and trying to, maximize value, or, you know what I mean? Like they recognized he had an opportunity to go back to Greece where he is well liked and where he liked living. And the way they could do that was basically paying off the rest of his deal and letting him leave.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. And so I think that the club probably did the right thing by him. I think that everything that I have heard is that he was, not excited about the fact that it had to happen this way, but understood what the club was trying to do and understood what the path forward was, and recognized that he wasn't a part of those plans.
Yeah.
And couldn't be because of the way the salary cap worked. I've also roundabout sort of had it confirmed that they couldn't move him off a DP tag. So without him accepting a lot less money.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I understand why he wouldn't want to do that either. Right?
100%.
And so, I think they did the best thing they could for him and the best thing for both parties. Now, that leaves David Lee in a bit of a conundrum over the next couple of weeks, because you let this guy go and you do it on a buyout. You didn't have to do that now. You could have, I don't want to call it sunk cost fallacy, but I mean, if you're going to buy out his contract anyway, you could have kept him around while you tried to work out other options. I think you got to make those options happen now. You're kind of under the gun.
And to the point you made on Discord, I mean, you would assume that since the buyout happened, you would assume that there's something else really close potentially, because otherwise, why would you pull the trigger on that unless you had something else, almost completely done, if not done.
It makes zero sense for you to do this in this way at this time without there being something ready to go.
Well, fingers crossed, man. And fingers crossed that the fit is right, because I think that a large part of the issue with Manu was just fit, right? It's just he did not fit with the rest of the pieces around him, and I think that chief among them could.
He didn't fit. He was the only good passer on a team that could not pass the ball. You're right. He did not fit.
But chief among that, and just looking at it from a squad building aspect, if you look at this regime bringing in, if Lee brings in LBJ, and the skill sets, the profiles of LBJ and Manu Garcia just really don't fit together very well at all. And
they kind of overlap, to be honest.
So yes, I mean, they overlap so much that you can't put them in a double pivot with one another,
right?
Because there's no defense there, right? And so that tends to be, I think, a big problem, and that limits the flexibility of the team in terms of squad building. And so that really forced Manu to playing this sort of second forward role, especially during the press. So he's up there because he can't defend in a double pivot. So he's up there, quasi pressing as part of a front two, because where else are you going to put him? But then he's also at the same time having to drop all the way back, to the center backs to help facilitate build out.
Well, I don't know if he's having to. It's just what he does, right? And I think if you listen to David Lee discuss him in the press conference, that's what he said. He's like, Manu is more of an 8. We see him dropping back a lot to get on the ball, we want someone who's going to be a lot closer to goal. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I don't think they wanted Manu doing those things. He was just doing them because that is what he naturally sees as what needs to happen.
Then I think that they need to talk to the coach, because not only is Manu doing that, but we've seen Jovic doing that recently as well. And so if your frontline players are doing that
because
means
they don't touch the fucking ball otherwise. Like, they really don't get to touch the ball otherwise.
This brings us right back to the LBJ conversation, right? That's the player who should be doing that job. And so maybe with Manu out of the picture, maybe LBJ can flourish and we can see that component of his game really start to cook, because it really has to. Because otherwise, like, you can't have what I just described, right? You can't have Jovic dropping back.
Also, if you have a natural 10, like, let's say they make this signing and they have more of an Evander or Nico Fernandez Mercado or that kind of type of player,
right?
That person is going to drop into that pocket that LBJ wants to pass into. Manu is dropping alongside him.
This is true. Yeah, this is true.
LBJ is looking for that guy in between the defensive line and the midfield line, so he can build between those lines, and then Jovic can make the run after. Manu was not staying in that zone.
Yep, 100% agree.
And so, like, I'm not trying to make excuses for anybody. I'm just saying I think the point that you're making is the natural skill sets of these players and where they want to play was pulling them out of position. And Manu would also flare to the wide side a lot. And then there's no central progression available for LBJ whatsoever. Yep. So, like, I think that the hope is that you are able to bring in a player that more naturally sort of sits in that pocket and provides them that central progression space. And if it's, don't get me wrong, spending $20 million plus on a DP doesn't guarantee success. We'll just look at Atlanta United. Like, there are plenty of circumstances where this has not worked. But if you trust David Lee to make the right signings and to do the right player evaluation and sign the right players, and he's given that kind of checkbook in order to do it, you would expect the quality of the player that comes into that position to be pretty adept at finding those spaces and availing himself to LBJ. I think that's the big issue. Yep. Is LBJ can't pass to guys who don't get themselves open.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, the Chiefs are going to have this problem this year. They don't have a whole lot of good wide receivers on the roster, especially if Rashee Rice gets suspended again. Yeah. Mahomes is only as good as the guys are at getting open, right? And I think LBJ's got a similar problem. Is that I don't think his teammates often avail themselves in the way that would allow him to progress the ball. And he's still got the best progressive passing on the team as far as progressive passes completed per game. So, like, he's still doing that. So it is something he is skilled at. It's just, I think we'll see it take off a little bit more when his teammates are finding those pockets. And I also think that a player who sits in that central pocket and avails himself a lot and allows that central passing lane eventually is going to cause the opponent to collapse centrally, and now the wide shots diagonally are available as well. All of it is dominoes, just like anything. Yep. And I'm not saying that every pass has to go through LBJ. I just think that he is capable. And I also think the Zorn Bassongs and the Jake Davises of the world will find those pockets as well once the teammates start, like, putting themselves in them. Right now, they're passing into really narrow windows a lot. And I think that's part of the reason why they don't ever string more than three together.
I think that all of that sounds like it tracks. Like, I can get on board with that. I do think that, especially with Manu gone, I think that there really needs to be an increase in the impact and output of LBJ. Like, I think that, like, dude, like, okay, now this is your responsibility, right? The progression. This is
literally why you're here, because we didn't bring you here to tackle guys.
No,
obviously,
no.
So like,
progression is your gig. You need to progress the ball. You have to do it. So now that he's got some complementary pieces around him, and it's time to maybe speed up the gas theorem a little bit and get stuff cooking now, so that we can start to see some some consistency in some early returns.
Well, and this other DP slot isn't the only slot they have open. Like there's
the
U22s. There's a
all
couple
of them.
U22s. Well, two of the three are available because they're going to have. Well, right now they only have 2 DPs, but if things progress in the way that David Lee is suggesting they will, 3 DPs, 3 U22s, they still have 2 U22 slots they could fill. So we need to see some more progression on that spot. Oh, by the way, they've still got over $3 million in GAM.
Yeah.
Like, there are plenty of places on this roster where they can improve.
Like, what are they waiting for? Spend that fucking money, dude. I mean, I'm for real with this shit. Like, you can buy players from other teams in MLS. Please do that.
Well,
Please do that.
Lee at least spoke to that at some level, right? He said, because there was Thad Bell asked him about international slots and the availability of international slots, and he discussed, he's like, look, we're up against it a little bit if we want to do a bunch of international ads. He's like, but that's a problem I have to solve, and he's like, honestly, I'm not that worried about it, which means he probably has already targeted some ways that they can acquire more if needed. They got all that GAM, so they can do that. I think the other thing is, he mentioned, he's like, some of these are going to have to be domestic. We need to also acquire domestic players. So they're thinking in that way. It was just refreshing, man. It was just refreshing to hear him speak. And not mainly because I need to hear from David Lee every week, but because we heard some semblance of a plan.
Yeah, there's like a level of confidence and competence about the way that he talks that makes you think like, okay, yeah, like you know what's up, right? He's not up there.
This is the head motherfucker in charge. It should sound that way, and it does.
Right, but he's not up there like it's all roses, right? He's not up there like blowing smoke up everybody's asses.
No, we playing like shit. We got to add to this team.
right. Like I fucked up. I didn't realize how hard the job was. We're playing like shit. Nobody's happy. Everybody wants improvement, and the improvement has to happen quickly. And so. It was refreshing to listen to him, and so everybody should do that.
I get that the president of soccer is the one who can get away with saying pretty much whatever he wants, so that's part of the reason he did. But I don't think, here's the thing. I don't need to hear from David Lee every week. I just need to feel like I just need to have some sort of understanding of what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like the only time we get that picture is when he goes to the mic. Yeah. And I just think that's a problem. I think that's a problem. Look, I don't think that Sporting Kansas City has to specifically placate my desires to know information, but I do think that there is an issue with fan interaction with the team. And sort of like there's a brand issue here. There's like a fan engagement issue here, where like we talked about it before we started the podcast. Sporting just announced the biggest signing in their history by 2x financially, more than 2x probably, and it was like 50-50. On the positivity, maybe 40, maybe 30-70 positive to negative.
Yeah.
And not a single national media person picked it up. Mm-hmm. Like, this is what, the 5th largest transfer in MLS history? Something like that? 6th? It got tweeted by the MLS account, but that's it. It got no take whatsoever. And the fan base was mostly like, what the fuck's going on? Why is Manu leaving?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Luiz is really, to most people, an unknown, right? Like, when trades happen within, the MLB or NFL, they're all players that people who follow the leagues can be a little bit familiar with, but no one knows who Andre Luiz is, right? Like unless they have found out like you have and went and found some film, some highlights, and like I was watching local television news tonight, and they mentioned the signing, which was great. And they had even like clips of Luiz, scoring goals, and that was great. But then they turned around and said that 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 at his age, at 24, having all that money, the $18 million transfer fee. And I was just like, man, that's just not how transfer fees work, but good try, buddy. So I think that there's the problem exists on a lot of different levels. That's not his salary, man. They didn't hand the dude $20 million.
They didn't give him Chris Jones contract. Okay. Like, calm down.
Yeah. So, it's just one of those things. And I think that, I think that one of the things that the club has gotten better at is just, is making the in-stadium experience. I think leveling that up. But let's be honest, like that's not catering to the people on the Discord, right? There's not really anything that caters to the people on the Discord, which, by the way, that's why the Discord fucking exists. That's why this podcast exists, is to cater to fans that think like us. But that is frankly just not most fans. And so,
yeah, I mean, well, I think that's okay on the most fan side of things. I don't know that, but the thing is that this club doesn't seem to care at all about catering towards its most fervent fans.
No. They are happy to be the club that attracts the families, with Harry Potter night. That's what they want.
But those families are going to stop showing up when it sucks ass every time when they're there.
They haven't so far.
I mean they have. I mean, don't get me wrong.
But it's so
if you compare where this was even just after COVID.
Yeah, you're right.
To where it is now, like this is the St. Louis games in 2023 when they joined the league are the last time I remember games in Sporting Park being meaningful.
But Drew, like, I'm gonna be honest, that seems like most MLS teams. I'm not, okay. when you watch games, like very rarely are stadiums full, and they're like LAFC, their supporter stands used to be just popping all the time. They're not. Austin, same thing. They're not. And you can just go down the list, and this is for the most part I think anecdotal from me, but there just doesn't seem to be the packed stadium in.
I mean, we're kind of getting off into a separate direction than what I'm discussing.
It's a completely different discussion to have.
In stadium and whether people are going to games is.
Yep.
That all change. That's when the team's good, they'll all be there. I'm not worried about that part of it.
I'm not either.
What I'm talking about is making fans feel like they're a part of what's going on, especially the most fervent ones that are keeping your club afloat while you suck ass. Right?
Yeah, totally
these
agree.
are the ones that are still staying engaged. These are the ones still listening to our shitty podcast every week. Mm-hmm. These are the people that you need to satiate. Those are the fans that you should be concerned with satiating, because those are the ones who are through this with you right now. Right. They're going through it with you at the same time you are. So, don't alienate them.
Yeah, those are season ticket holders and long-term season ticket holders. Right? Those are people who have brand loyalty, who come back year after year. Even during lean years.
I mean, I promise you that Rob Thompson is not excited with how the engagement went on the Andre Luiz signing today. I promise you, he's not, because it did not look like it went very well. At least now it's anecdotal based on what we're seeing, but all of the responses to it are like, well, our team sucks, like whatever. Like we just let go of one of our best players. So okay, we signed another one. Like that is most of the vibe that I'm seeing.
We signed Andre Luiz, who's gonna pass him the ball.
That was definitely in the Discord today. And I think that the that's the thing. It's like there's all of this sort of obfuscation of things that are going on. Like until David Lee sat down today and sort of laid out, here's what I'm trying to do over the next 2 weeks. Here's the plan that we have. I can't talk about what guys we've hired in the front office because they're still giving notice and trying to put. But,
that was a weird.
Well, I mean, realistically, like legally, they can't do it until those guys are out of their own job.
It makes sense, but it was just like, okay.
But that's a level of transparency that we just don't hear from this club ever. Yeah. And never have, frankly. And never have. And I do think that it is a residual effect of the prior regime. Most of those guys in those roles were around for Vermees and sort of participated in the philosophy that any information, no matter how innocuous it seems, could potentially hurt us in some way, so we're not going to risk it.
Yeah.
Right? And the modern the modern world of global football is all of this stuff is reported. It actually improves engagement in your team when they know about this shit. Do you realize how, everyone on fucking planet Earth, well, not planet Earth, but anyone plugged into the Premier League knows what Tottenham's doing right now. Why? Because they're signing all these crazy ass players, and they're connected to Savinho and Cody Gakpo and potentially Endrick and all this other shit, right? They're like, Savinho's not it. They might sign two wingers and a striker before the windows close. And here's all the things they're trying to do. That is not keeping Tottenham from doing their business. Right. That is not what it is causing.
It's driving engagement.
It's driving a ton of engagement into their brand and what they're about, and a lot of interest in what the club's going to look like. For the first time in a long, long time, I'm kind of interested in what's going on. Right. And what's crazy is, usually I sort of convince myself that the transfer season brought in good players that would cause it to be interesting, and it usually is for about 10 games before it all falls apart. Now I have people like you. I've had so many people tell me how piped they are for how Tottenham might look this year. And that's weird. That's a weird place to be, but it's because all that shit's happening. All that shit's being reported. That is stuff that helps people engage with your brand. And I do think that there's a little bit of a disconnect between the PR comms department and the brand side of things on how to create some interest. And I think that if this Andre Luiz stuff had been handled differently, where the major newsbreaker of acquisitions in MLS, Tom Bogert, was actually a little bit more engaged in what they were doing and could provide updates on it. Tom didn't even tweet about it when it closed.
Yeah.
You know why? Because they intentionally kept that information away from him. He had to go find it from someone else after Sport24 reported it when the agreement was close.
Right.
And it's this intentional obfuscation. They want to control the narrative all the time. What it's doing is causing people to disengage from it.
Yeah. Or to get engaged, but negatively.
And don't get me wrong, there's such a thing as too much information. You don't want too much getting out there because it can create a scenario where you are negotiating against yourself now in the media. I understand that completely. But there's a balance to it. Nothing David Lee said today is going to hurt them in the market over the next 2 weeks.
That's true.
So there are ways...
And it's all stuff that could have been shared,
weeks ago.
Weeks ago. Yeah.
And would give people a lot better feeling about what happened with Manu because they knew that we were looking for a DP10.
Right.
They would understand it.
Yeah.
Instead of going through a freaking doom spiral about what the fuck is going on. And I just think that there's a way to engage in this conversation. And hot stove is a big engagement conversation in sports, man.
It is. Absolutely. That's why, no one's played Premier League games yet, but everybody's, consuming Premier League content because of that.
Exactly. And Sporting is playing in this space in a way they never have before, and it's a way to really improve their profile, and they've done nothing to take advantage of it.
Yeah. Maybe
they're spending at the top end of the league on players.
Yeah. And
everyone's just sort of it just seems like they're owed or throwing cash. Because no one really knows what's going on. They talked about it on Soccer Wise on Monday. And the majority of the time is just talking about how shit they are on the field and how it just seems like a new owner just trying to throw stuff at it to see if he fixes it. Because no one knows what they're actually trying to do.
Right.
No one sees the plan because there's no context for it.
Yeah.
And Tom has no information on it because no one is sharing any of that with him. He can't even say, well, here's what I'm hearing.
Yep.
And I'm not telling them that they have to enable Tom Bogert. They can enable Daniel Sperry. I don't care. But there should be a means by which information about what the team is trying to accomplish makes it into the media in some way, so that fans can feel like they are a part of the process and they feel informed. And right now, they're very uninformed, which causes them to come up with wild conclusions over and over and over again. And it creates a lot of negative wild conclusions, like we saw today.
Yep.
I don't think anyone actually believes that the people inside the building are just sitting on their hands going, this is fine, whatever. But when you don't hear from them in any way, shape, or form about what the plan is, just even the structure of it, it creates mistrust. It's like, if you're not going to trust me, how do I trust you? Right? Relationships go two ways.
Very true.
All right.
I want to take a moment. Because I keep looking at the picture behind you.
Yes.
And I think it really deserves. We should wish Zachary Cobb a happy Western Auto Sign Day. Because the Western Auto Sign is
prominent,
lighting up.
It is his favorite product of all time.
New lights go on today. It's going to be lit up like a fucking Christmas tree from now on.
And Zach will be so excited about that. It'll be his favorite thing.
He should go take a picture of it. That's what I think.
He should definitely do that. Please post that picture in the Discord, Zach. Probably have a big middle finger in it too.
Probably.
Last thing in the Andre Luiz stuff. He is in Brazil finalizing his visa. Sounds like, it's hard to tell, but sounds like maybe the Vancouver game. He might be available by that one.
Okay.
Which is not this upcoming weekend, but the following weekend. Yeah. So end of August. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. But I am excited to see him on the field for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Very dynamic player, and as you guys have heard me wax poetic, I've done this too much on the podcast already. You guys know how I feel about him as a player. I spent a lot of time, probably more than any other Sporting Kansas City acquisition, sort of scouting, and I will just say I agree with David Lee's assessment of him.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to see him on the field. Okay, let's move on to potpourri. Just like your favorite Jeopardy category, we got a couple topics in and around the Sporting Kansas City MLS soccer sphere, mostly MLS. What do we like in MLS this weekend? We definitely did not like the Colorado game. This is our weekly Adri Mehmeti glazing session, because did you see this assist that he had to Emil Forsberg?
I did not. No, I did not watch that game. It
was I was sort of watching it prior. I was watching 360 prior to the Sporting game starting, and they have Phil Neville on 360 now.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I wish I had not tuned into 360.
Yeah.
If the way he talks about the game on 360 is how he coaches
guys,
I can tell why he's such a shit coach, because there is absolutely no legitimacy to anything he says. It is all generalities and platitudes, and just there was a point where he made some comment about how the Orlando game was gonna end up 0-0. It was like Orlando and Cincinnati was gonna end up 0-0, and everyone had predicted a goal fest. And Kevin Egan was like, "Well, why do you think that?" Like everyone's like, "So you just get a feeling about it, or what?" He's like, "No, I just just what I think, just what I feel. No analysis, nothing deeper. Just like, yeah, everyone says it's going to be goal fest. I just want to go the other way."
Let's put this man on television.
And it was just like that over and over and over again. And he just got "we gotta go" so many times. That was worth it for me to listen to him start saying a Warren Barton thing, as like I call it the Warren Bartonism.
It is.
And as soon as the Warren Bartonism started, we gotta go.
Yep.
There's a goal alert, and I'm just like, thank God.
So I could contrast that with when they have Gio Savarese on, who I think is really insightful generally, and super surprising that guy still does not have a coaching gig in MLS. I know his style of play is not really for everybody, but man,
and it's not really for modern MLS. I think that's part of the problem.
I think that's probably accurate. Yeah,
I thought about that a little bit because I was thinking about Savarese and I was thinking about our coaching situation and like who would be a guy that we could get quickly, that would be, get the team organized. Savarese definitely would do that, but in the modern MLS game, especially given how it is so attack focused because all of your talent is in the attack, I don't know that works, right? Like I don't think Peter Vermees could run a team like he did in 2013 in current MLS and get away with it, right?
He could not.
So I think that I have concerns that Savarese could make his style work in that way.
But Ben Olsen is doing it, right? I mean, Ben Olsen has retooled his style a little bit, and
I was gonna say he's retooled. So, he's not playing like old Benny Ball. No, it doesn't look like not. That. And
he has talented players now. That's a big difference.
That's a fair point. But Guilherme, I was not high on that signing, and I think I said this a couple weeks ago. I was not high on it, and he has been
he's cooking.
A revelation. For sure. Has a lot to do with it.
I watched the Orlando City Cincinnati game, and it was fun and cool and exciting. And, watching Evander versus
Griezmann.
Oh my God, Griezmann! Yeah, thank you. That's what it's all about. I enjoyed that. The shot in front of us, kicking, watching Nashville kick the shit out of Inter Miami. I love that.
Dude, that was a whooping, dude.
It was absolutely a whooping.
So something we did not discuss last week, but you and I discussed off pod, and I have discussed a few times. If with other people was the coaching situation with Sporting. And it's like, if you're spending $20 million per player on your DPs or more, it sounds like David Lee's saying they could even go higher.
What the fuck was that? When he said that, my ears perked way the fuck up. I was like, oh really? Okay.
Peter Maluk's ready to spend money. Mark Kaffer made a really good point in the Discord. He's like, when your money has made more money in the last 3 months than you probably paid to buy Sporting Kansas City.
This is true.
You're not really concerned about 20 million.
Billionaire problems, man.
But if you're spending that kind of money on players, shouldn't you be splashing that kind of cash to make sure you have the coach for them too? And remember, and I had suggested to you last week, like off pod, like we got off the pod, I was like, should they make just a Godfather offer to a coach in the league that they know that is really good?
Yes. And it's coming.
And should it be BJ Callahan?
Dude, I don't know if it's him or if it's Sorensen, but it's coming. Like, there's something coming because it is not... Having Wiki coach this team is not going to be sustainable with those players, guaranteed.
Well, and I just don't think Maluk's going to stand for it for very long. Like, it's just going to be like...
Why would he? It's obviously not a solution, right? It's obviously a problem that needs to be solved.
Like, Maluk has the ability to walk over to Nashville and say, I'll pay you $10 million to take your coach. And they would just say yes.
What else are they going to say?
And I mean, that would be unbelievable. Like, I would be ecstatic about that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that we're really speaking in like dream world about this kind of thing right now, but I do think it's realistic to consider what options might exist for the coaching position on this team if we're spending this kind of capital on players, right? Like, if you are investing this amount of money into the players and the roster, shouldn't you be thinking in that sort of vein about your coaching staff as well? And I think, again, Rafa Wiki is I think David Lee's comment about this being the first window with Peter Maluk in charge is very salient. You're getting a much different feel for how this club is going to be run now based on how things go in this window. The previous window, even though he had been announced as taking over, he was not in charge. He is 100% driving the bus now, and I think that should change your perspective on how you think about how things go forward from here, especially based on how things go over the next couple weeks. And should those things come to pass that they're trying to accomplish, I think we're all going to have a completely different perspective about the prospects of this team long term.
Yep.
And I think that also includes in the offseason going, who's going to coach this team long term?
Totally agree.
Because you don't hire a bus driver to drive a Ferrari.
This is true.
Anyway,
I wanted to say that that on Sunday, so there were two games simultaneous on Sunday. There were Chicago, Portland, and New York City, Philadelphia, and my son texts me. He's at work, and he's asking me which game he should put on the TV at the restaurant that he works at, and because he doesn't watch a lot of MLS, and so that was actually a tougher call than I thought, because normally I would just like reflexively say, I don't tend to watch New York City games at home because I can't stand watching games played on a baseball field. Yeah. Right. But Chicago was playing, at Soldier Field, and all of the fucking football lines were on there, and it looked terrible. But I still said Chicago.
Also the grass is really long for football too. Like once they go to football season, the grass is like twice as long as it is during.
And you could tell like the on-field product suffered for that. But the Chicago-Portland game, it was okay. It was entertaining, and I was feeling pretty good about that recommendation, because pretty sure that's what he was watching. And then Philadelphia, Kevin Sullivan fucking popped off in the second half and had 3 assists, and I was like, God damn it. That's MLS. Like what are you gonna do? It's just MLS being MLS.
And you see it in the rundown. Like that was the thing that, I mean, don't get me wrong. So Adri Mehmeti has an assist in the first like 20 minutes of the Red Bulls game, and it is just the complete Adri Mehmeti experience. It is no touch wasted, and directly onto the dominant foot of his teammate that allows him to turn and just rifle a shot into goal. And this was from Forsberg. And you can tell that he and Forsberg just have a really good relationship already. But it was just the just the reminder of just how fucking good this guy is at 17. It's just wild to me. If you look at my Blue Sky, I've got some stuff up there because we talked to Kevin Sullivan. Matt Doyle brought up his player radar at 16, and it's kind of fucking insane. And that includes half a season with Bradley Carnell in charge. So like, if you go to like, a lot of this has been created in the last like several games, and it's really, really good for a 16-year-old. And then I put in the reply, by the way, look at Adri Mehmeti at 17, and this guy makes Lasse Berg-Janssen look like a piece of shit. Like he really does. And I don't say that to say bad things about LBJ. I say that to say how good Mehmeti is at 17. It is just unbelievable. He's got to work on his proactive defending. Like I he's late to a lot of challenges. I don't like that. But like his dual winning in general. That's
all game reading though. I mean, that's
it is, yeah, and that's just and that's something you just let a 17-year-old keep playing and figure it out, right?
Absolutely.
Like that's speed, that's game speed and reading at the speed of the game, and that stuff will get better. Like that stuff he'll get better at. But yeah, Kevin Sullivan absolutely went fucking ham in the second half of this game, and you're and you're like, this kid is 16.
Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy.
It was a show, dude. And it's also just a reminder that you should always fire Bradley Carnell. Just fire him. I almost
unless you're St. Louis, and then you should keep him. You should bring him back.
I almost want us to hire Bradley Carnell for 4 months just so we can fire him and become much better. Anyway, 2-time MLS Coach of the Year. 2-time Siggy Schmidt MLS Coach of the Year, by the way. Yeah. Bradley Carnell. Anyway, yeah, that was the stuff I liked in MLS. Anything else from MLS this weekend that you enjoyed, or did we get them all?
I mean that's the ones that I noticed. I mean, I watched the Dallas Austin game. I enjoyed that game quite a bit. Also, I'm just gonna go ahead and just start lobbying for like, we really need to do something about the West Coast, Drew. Those games start too late. I can't ever stay up for those games, so I never fucking watch them. Like I try.
I couldn't either. There was no way. Vancouver, Seattle was just not happening. There was no way it was happening for me. I saw what my schedule was at work the next day, and I was like, I can't do this. I got to sleep, and I even had it on, and I maybe made it 5 minutes and fell asleep.
Yeah, I just doze off,
and I just woke up in the morning to a bunch of morose Sounders fans. That's like what I woke up to in my timeline.
It's not the worst way to wake up.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, and they've come by it honestly. Like things have gone very bad for them over that.
Yeah.
I mean,
poor them.
Poor them. Yeah. Oh no, I feel so bad. And Vancouver still looks great. Now you talk about the guy you could make the Godfather offer to. It's
Amen.
Vancouver for Jesper Sorensen for sure.
Amen. Yep.
They that is a small ball team that who the hell knows where they're going to be next year. And
you could throw a shit ton of money at him and say, look, we're gonna buy you fucking elite players and let you cook, and it's hard to imagine it would go poorly.
100% in for that game plan. All right, one thing to look for, the game that Cody was very clear that he will not be at tomorrow evening. St. Louis comes to Sporting Park. First of all, for some reason St. Louis is wearing their fucking baby diarrhea kits in this one. So like why would you like these colors perfectly contrast each other. It's blue versus pink, red, whatever you want to call it. It's just this would be like if Liverpool Everton was like wearing white and green or something like that, right? Like it doesn't make any sense.
They just continually don't understand the assignment. Like they don't realize what the fuck they're supposed to do. Like
and by the way, Sporting has never not worn their primaries in this game. Yeah. They always wear their primaries in this game. Nate Sadoff even like Mike Kuhn went on Twitter and like complained about it. Nate Sadoff is like, we will always wear our primaries.
That's good. They should.
It's like this is a derby match. Like, what are you doing? First of all, that kit blows ass, like literally, and it looks like so someone bad. And it looks like someone blew ass on it. So like, why? And then secondly, like this is a derby. You should be wearing your primary stuff anyway. Who will play?
Just real quick, I want to say like I was surprised. Like I saw that Austin got a lot of heat for their third kits, mostly because the third kits are supposed to be like retro, and Austin doesn't really have retro. Blah 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 blah. But their kits were like purple.
They were fine. It just looked like a purple shirt with a white band on it.
I thought they were good. I liked them.
It looked like a reboot of the LAFC one, just with different colors. The brown and white one. It's just
I liked it. I especially like the font that said Austin on the front. I really like
that. It's the exact same font that LAFC used on theirs. Like that's what I'm saying. It's fairly reductive from a design perspective. I don't know. I lived in Austin for 15 years. I never heard a single person talk about the purple skyline ever. So like
they should have had some little bats flying across it. Or
it seemed like a bunch of horse shit to me. Yeah. Like I and to be fair, like I don't know what you would do. Would you do a burnt orange kit, kind of like Miami did with the Dolphins one? Like I don't know what you would do that would be sort of like connecting to the city. Yeah. But a burnt orange kit I would be all over. But that's just
that would be cool
because I am a alumnus of that university. But I think that I don't know. It's fine. I wasn't like that big on it. I wasn't that bad. It's fine. I didn't think it was.
I thought
that's especially noteworthy.
So
yeah.
But not like they would just look sharp in a normal way. They weren't like mind blowing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I desperately tried not to get sucked into this conversation because design is such a subjective thing, and
100%.
Nolan, noted designer, tried to like create this whole thing. Here, you can do your kit ranker on that. I'm not doing this. That's bait. That's bait.
You just don't want to get run.
No, because it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's just such a subjective argument. Like there's nothing. This is all about personal taste. It has nothing to do with anything other than that. I mean, although we all can agree that the quote unquote Tina Turner kit looks like someone wiped their ass with a white shirt.
It is fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
Tina Turner is rolling over in her grave.
Yeah. Even the St. Louis fans have finally started to pan it, which is good. Like at first, just because they're St. Louis, they were like, "Oh yeah, this is cool," and then they all saw it in person and realized it was going to be $165 to look like they were wearing a shit rag, and they were like, maybe not doing that." So that's what it will be: the St. Louis shit rags on the field versus Sporting Kansas City. Who will play for Sporting Kansas City in this one? Kwaku and Mosquera obviously suspended. Manu
Gone.
no longer on the roster. Orblorian had to leave with a little back issue at the end of the Colorado game. He was in practice today, but is listed as questionable. Are we fucked?
I mean, even with all those players available, we would probably be fucked because St. Louis is tearing it up right now. They're playing really well, and their new signings are playing well, and they are really.
They lost Marcel Hartel and brought in Hulsa, and it just seemed to make no difference whatsoever.
Yep. And they're they're playing well, but they're also just. Their baseline is just being really difficult to play against. And so when you couple that with, an attack that's, actually scoring goals and creating chances, it's a really tough prospect for Sporting KC. And, my expectations are pretty low. And if Sporting KC can come out and play a pretty defensive game plan, like we've seen them try to execute the last handful of games and do it successfully without anybody getting sent off or, conceding an own goal or some stupid shit, then, then there's a chance maybe to get a result. But that's about it.
I mean, they absolutely blasted San Jose this weekend.
Yeah, they did.
It wasn't close. It was an absolute ass whipping. And Simon Bescher's scoring goals, which once Simon Bescher starts scoring, you're like, fuck.
That's like Calvin Harris starting to score, dude. Come on.
Simon Bescher brace. Yeah. That's like Calvin Harris with 2 assists or something. I don't have a whole lot of positive thoughts to say about this either. Realistically, it's hard to see based on how this team has been playing since coming back from the break and how St. Louis has been playing since coming back from the break, how this isn't a really bad loss.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree. Which it would lead you to hope that maybe the team can galvanize and rally around and blah, 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 find some motivation. But I mean, they've had lots of chances to do that this season, and it's been really tough for them to do it. So,
yeah, I don't want to be defeatist, but I think we should be realistic.
Yohan
Dame has this team playing very well, and
Wiki does not.
Yeah,
right.
and Dame has spent a lot of the season sort of building up this system that is kind of it is in the form of his mentor and former. He was under the employ of one Wilfred Nancy, and was at one point in the Montreal Academy system when Nancy was running it, and then of course was an assistant for him in Columbus, and Dame has worked himself up through various different levels of coaching from a very young age, and is doing a very good job. I don't think it's exactly like Columbus under Nancy, but it's a similar system, and he is put the time in to try to drill that into them, and they look very organized and look very clear on what they're trying to do. And we saw that a couple weeks ago. Granted, almost still stole a result in that one in St. Louis.
But St. Louis has gotten a lot better since that game.
I mean, they were certainly way better against San Jose on the weekend, way better. I think that I don't know if they've gotten better, but I think that a lot of things need to go right for Sporting to have a chance to win this one or get a result out of this one. So we're just going to have to, hope that those things go right. They have not for several weeks now.
And that's why my expectation is low. Just even if you don't win, don't shoot yourself in the fucking foot, right? Don't get a red card, no own goals. Don't do stupid shit, right? The bar is low. It's in the floor. Let's try and meet it.
Yeah, I think from a fitness perspective, the good news is that Justin Reynolds and Diego Borges both had 45-minute cameos with the twos on Saturday, so they're getting back to fitness. I think it would be unrealistic to expect either of them to feature significantly in this game, maybe at the end of it. But if they're only good for 45 with the twos on Saturday, I don't see how they're ready to do anything significant on Wednesday, the following
Agreed.
Wednesday. Both of them are having to deal with reversions of injuries that they'd had before. So I think they're probably trying to be extremely careful with the comeback pattern on both of them, especially with Reynolds. Hamstrings are very hard to come back from effectively.
Yep.
And so and even when it seemed like he was fine, he would, just as he was coming back to full speed and re-injure. So I don't think that they're doing anything wrong. I just think that they're going to be especially careful this time around because of that. So
Sure.
I think we're going to see Jake Davis at right back, depending on whether Blorian is feeling good enough to play. Maybe we see Blorian and James. That would be my ideal pairing of what's available.
Amen. That would be great. Which is why it won't happen.
No, it'll probably be James and Meyer.
Yeah. Yep.
Or Jansen Miller and Wyatt Meyer.
That's my hope. Let's just
Well, I mean, Jansen gets up for St. Louis. We know that. But, I mean,
Yeah.
God, you want to talk about absolute chaos. Like, you've got it. And then, I think the midfield's going to be Zoe and LBJ. And then we'll probably see something similar to what we saw against Colorado. I don't see what else they can do.
No, maybe Calhera is back. And
Yeah,
can start,
that'll be interesting. Not to start, I don't think. I'd be very surprised if he was ready to start. So the whole deal with him, did he even make the bench against Colorado? I don't think he did.
Yeah, he came on. He came on at the end.
Yeah,
of the
he
game.
did come on at the end. You're right. Okay, that's right. Sorry. That game is a blur in the second half. I didn't pay attention to all of it. I was paying attention more to the Discord than I was to the game.
I stay off the Discord during games because of that reason, because it's just too easy to,
Get involved. Yeah.
Yep.
And you can get involved in the conversation really quick. That could be interesting if Calhero's ready to start. Then that would be an interesting thing.
That would be good to see.
It was a pretty severe high ankle sprain that he got, so I don't know how likely that is, but we'll see.
He looked fine when he came in on Saturday. I mean, it would just be good to see Harris on one side and Capita on the other, instead of I'll take that every day of the week versus Harris up top and Shapi Sulamanov on the side. So of course, who knows? I mean, we might see Afrifa instead of Suleimanov.
Please, no. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's worse. I really don't.
No, they're both terrible options. So
at least Shapi puts some semblance of a defensive effort in.
Well, and here's the thing, right? Like we are still in a transfer window, so put Shapi on there, see if he can generate some positivity, so that maybe he can be sold. Not fucking around. I'm not playing at all, dude. Just put him in the window. And
I think he's the most likely one to get the next buyout. Like, both parts of the Happy Meal might get bought out here.
That is so. It's so crazy to think that he's the one that's left. It's just like it is. It just is a kind of a microcosm of the way the last 3 years have gone with this team.
But really, also how the salary cap works, right? Like, I mean, it's that
Sure.
It's that more than anything. But Shapi still takes up a bunch on the GAM side and the salary budget side. Now, granted, once you've used it on a player, it's gone, so you can't recoup it once you buy him out. So it's just kind of like, I mean, you'd only be doing it to get his international slot back. And maybe they do that if they need to.
Yep.
We'll have to see. Okay, well, that was just a wonderfully inspiring and positive outlook on the St. Louis game this week, or on Wednesday. We do have an additional game this weekend. We will not be potting before that happens. I don't know if we have any, higher expectations against Atlanta United. Maybe we should. Atlanta is pretty fucking terrible.
They are terrible. But no, I don't have higher expectations. Like you put it succinctly, right? Like, this is a historically bad team, and we should expect historically bad performances from them until something changes, right? Until they show us that they can put together performances that aren't dog shit. We kind of have to expect dog shit, honestly.
I mean, yeah, I don't even know how to refute that. Especially without Manu Garcia. Like, Andre Luiz is not here.
Right.
Manu Garcia is gone.
Yep.
So the unfortunate thing is, from a short-term prospect situation, we're here. We're just dealing with it. We're in it. We're just gonna have to live in it.
It's like March all over again.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't think we'd be doing that again. I really didn't. I was like,
both, brother.
I wrote 8,000 words on how it couldn't get any worse than this. We hit rock bottom. And I, to be fair, they're not playing as bad as that. They really aren't. No. If you look at that Colorado Springs game and where the team was then, it is not that bad. It's not good, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. Not as bad as that game. I don't know if you can put that on a 2-poll or what. Not as bad as 3 months ago. We'll see how it works out. And until then, I'm Drees Cody. We will talk to y'all next week.
Go Sporting.